If you care about the community, raise your hand. But if you really care about your community, you would help feed those in need. There is nothing more important than food, good, nutritious food. Volunteer, donate, spread the word. There are giving gardens all over the country, but there's also people that would like to have one, but they don't know how. So I'm here to share with you a snippet about how a small nonprofit in Mystic, Connecticut built a garden to feed our neighbors. And it's all about the community, especially the community in the soil. The community of the human feeds the community of the soil, that feeds the community of the plants, that feeds the community of the humans. My wife and I own what was Connecticut's first certified humane farm. I'm a 10th generation farmer. Yes, I really am that old. Whose family has been farming on the same land since the early 1700s. Caring about my community and about the soil is in my blood. I distinctly remember my grandfather in his 90s coming out of his farmhouse with 2 canes. He was really bow-legged from many years of working and riding horses. He would hobble down to his garden, throw his canes down, lay down to weed his garden so he could feed his community good food. There's nothing more important than food. The Nature Center purchased the 1650s era farm in 2013 because we wanted to save the last open space in Mystic for our community. But we also wanted to keep the farm in Coogan Farm, so we started a garden to help our neighbors. Eventually, it would become an 11,800 square feet plantable garden. So far to date, we have donated 20 tons in 5 years to help feed our neighbors. That equates to about 93,000 meals. There are 40 million food insecure people in this country. 13 million are children. And we have people all over the world starving. Could someone in here please tell me why? I don't understand it. Our children have an ever-increasing number of diseases. We're making them sick and restricting their potential by what we're feeding them. Your soil, your food, is up to 50% deficient from what it was in 1940, and it loses up to another 30% within 3 days of coming out of the field. Our bodies were not designed to work on that low nutrition, but yet it seems like it's a boring subject. Look at the children. How can you not feed them? One of the first things that I had to do when I took over as farm manager was to turn this land into a high production garden. Again, this number is important. That would eventually be 11,800 square feet plantable. So we hired an excavator, a huge excavator. I could stand in a bucket. We removed most of the stones. They're still there. Some of them are still there, obviously. Some which weighed up to 30 tons. We amended the soil with compost and molasses and other nutrients. We purchased biochar and worm castings, AKA worm poop, and added them to our soil. We know that native peoples live near volcanoes despite the danger because of the fertile soil. So we duplicate that by adding volcanic rock dust and minerals like basalt, carbonatite, and azomite. I've implemented techniques that I've learned by taking classes at the BFA, which is the Bionutrient Food Association's Soil and Nutrition Conferences. I took Dr. Elaine Ingham's Soil Food Web course on how to understand and add microbiology to the soil. Microbiology trumps everything. If you don't have the workers, it doesn't matter what you put in the soil. They can't get spread around. So the building of a garden to feed, to heal, and to teach was started. When I visited the United Way's mobile food pantry and walked around, I wanted to find out what people needed. They were our clients, even though they're not paying for it, they're still our clients. So I'd walk around and say, what do you need? And then bragging, dude, I can grow anything. One lady says, I like bananas. Well, I can't do bananas, but what we did do is we planted 15 more apple, peach, and pear trees, strawberries, blackberries, 25 blueberry bushes to give them more fruit. They weren't getting the fresh food. And we built an herb garden. 2 years ago, we donated 128 pounds of herbs. That's a lot of oregano. We attracted Boy Scouts for Eagle Scout projects. One of the first things that they built for us was a mobile chicken coop, AKA Eggmobile, and chicken tunnels to protect and have chickens in the garden for natural pest control, and also to act as a teachable moment for the thousands of children we get into the garden every year. Another one of our Eagle Scout projects was a pollinator hotel. We had built a hedgerow in our garden to attract native pollinators, and we set the pollinator hotel right in the middle of it. And the purpose of that was to provide the honeybees competition. That competition from the native pollinators pushed the honeybees to put out 3 times more honey, which then increased our production and took our production from 2,080 pounds the first year to 17,000 pounds last year. It takes hundreds of volunteers and a great staff behind the scenes to bring me those volunteers and the sponsors and the donors so that we can donate 100% of what I grow to help our neighbors. 370 volunteers last year, 4,500 hours of help. Some of my volunteers have been with me since 2014. Most of them are ladies over 60 who came to us for various reasons. Most of them were out of shape. Don't mess with them now. They wanted to give back to the community, or they came to us because they were looking for something to fulfill their lives. But what they got out of working in the garden was a sense of commitment, satisfaction, enjoyment, and they all became nature-centered. In 2019, we were going to focus strictly on compost and microbiology. By making our own compost and using a microscope, I can see all those little critters in there and extract them out of the compost and put them in the soil so the soil can feed the plant and the plant can feed the human. Our garden has to be gorgeous to attract volunteers. If you look at that big stone on the left-hand side, I don't know if you can tell or not, but that's all handprints of children. But you can't see the garden until you come around that corner by that rock, because the stone wall is so high. And typically what happens is people will come around the wall, come around the corner, and they'll see what we have built, and they'll say, my God, this is gorgeous. How do I get involved? Or I've had them come in and say, you know, I'd like to get involved. I'm an old guy. I got a bad back. I can't bend a weed, but I can bend just far enough to reach my pocketbook. Here's an extra $20 to help. The design works, ladies and gentlemen. But perhaps the biggest increase in our production is caused by attitude. I want people to think about plants differently. Plants are living, breathing, thinking, deducting entities that just don't have an old wrinkled face. They know when they're being touched by humans. They know when they're being touched by bugs. They try to communicate with us through their color. Are their leaves curled or spotted? Does the plant look happy? What's the plant trying to tell us? But one of the biggest things we try to do is show our respect for everybody. So we have volunteers. Well, let me back up a little bit. You go to the supermarket and you're looking for spinach. And you go to the vegetable counter and here's all these rows of vegetables. And each is in a nice little bundle with a twist tie around it. And it says spinach. Why don't the food insecure deserve the same respect? So we have volunteers where all they do is bundle our produce and put that little twist tie around it. So it says Swiss chard, kale, spinach. We don't just take washed leafy greens out of the wash tub, throw it into a bucket and say, here you go. The United Way Food Pantry is helping us support 23,000 food insecure people in my local New London County community. They support over 60 soup kitchens. And the mobile food pantry goes to 9 different locations each month. I can get my produce to the food insecure in 5 hours. It is natural for us to care about all of our community. Consequently, we have many different groups of people with special needs that come to work and to volunteer in our garden. Children that can't be in a traditional classroom because of anger issues. Young adults who are suffering with social interactions, unable to complete repeated tasks, can't verbally communicate, and do not get too close to me. I walked up to one young lady, stuck out my hand. She shook my hand, and the guy in charge says, how'd you do that? I said, how'd I do what? You shook her hand. I said, yeah, so? Anybody else got that close to her, she'd put you on the ground. It's the garden. One young man touched my heart. He came to the garden in a harness, like a parachute harness, cinched up pretty tight. He had a big guy maintaining control over him. That young man reached out as I got close, grabbed me by the shoulder. The big guy says, no, don't hurt him, don't pinch him. I said, brother, if he hurts me, I'll back up. He was trying to communicate with me, that young man, and his hand was going down my arm. Pretty soon, we were just standing there looking at each other, holding hands. But the next time he came, there was no more harness and no more big guy. Another great experience was a veteran that walked into the garden. He said, you mind if I walk around? I said, of course not, brother, just don't step on my beds. So he's walking around, and here comes a tour group up to the gate. I have to go talk to them, tell them what's going on in the garden. 7 minutes after the first guy came into the garden, he walks up to me while I'm giving the presentation, and he said, Mr. Floyd, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. I said, sure, brother, what is it? He said, I just came back from my 3rd tour in Afghanistan. I said, I'm a Vietnam veteran, brother. I get it. And he said, but there's something I don't understand. I said, what's that? He said, I haven't felt this calm in years. I said, it's the soil, brother. It's the soil. And the bacteria in the soil is generating the production and release of serotonin in your brain. You are wasted on nature, brother. You just don't know it. Nature heals. The garden attracts a community of people all benefiting each other. Again, the community of the volunteer feeds and nurtures the community in the soil. That feeds the community of the plants, that feeds the community of the human. It's a big circle. We all work together. Let my community help your community by teaching you how to do what we do. You got pieces of paper and pencil on there. My name is coming. Write it down. Start growing something. Quit eating chemicals. Learn how to farm with Mother Nature. Focus on putting the carbon back in the soil. Reduce global warming. We are a no-till, no-spray farm. We don't release carbon because we don't till. Although, did you know that the earth breathes in at night and out in the morning and releases carbon just enough for the plants to take it up? It's done by 9 o'clock. Mother Nature's got a wristwatch. I'm proud to say that I work for the Denison Pequot Nature Center, who has given me the opportunity to help my community and to help our planet. I invite you to come and walk our 10 miles of trails, but by all means, spend time with me in the garden. Get wasted. If you're feeling a little flush, donate to a giving garden, especially a regenerative giving garden in your area. And if you don't know where there is one, you just saw where you can find one. Learn how to farm with Mother Nature. Build your own giving garden. Or just farm yourself, garden yourself in tune with nature. We're running out of time. Thank you, and farm on.